of Certitude is one of the most important works of Bahá'u'lláh, next to Kitab-i-Iqan. The beloved guardian says, foremost among the priceless treasures cast forth from the blowing ocean of Baha'u'llah's revelation rank is the Kitab-i-Iqan, a model of Persian prose, of a style at once original, chaste and vigorous, and remarkably lucid, both cogent in argument and matchless in its irresistible eloquence. Now, with that definition, what are we going to do with it today? First, let me tell you what I do not want to do today, and then I tell you what I want to do. What I do not want to do is to create that false sense of satisfaction in your heart that you heard about the Book of Certitude from me or anybody, and therefore we know it. So we know what it's all about. It's like somebody come and tell you that book that is the #1 seller, oh, it's about that situation in, let's say, Middle East. And then you know it, you don't have to go and read it again. That I do not want to do. That's a false satisfaction. What I want to do is to create a thirst in your soul. A feeling of, I want more to understand from this book. That I want to see what is behind all of these appellations. Is that the correct word? Yes, about this book that the beloved guardian says. I want to understand it more for myself. So we will talk about this again, but now you know what is my objective here. Saying that, let's talk about the history of revelation of the Book of Certitude. The primal point had 3 uncles. Of course, when you have 3, there is older one, middle one, and younger. The middle uncle of the maternal uncle, the middle one was the one that took care of him. When his father passed away at the age of 6, the middle uncle, Mirza Sayyid Ali, that later became Khala Azam, the greatest uncle, actually, he became Babi. He believed in his nephew. And eventually, he was martyred on his path of believing in Tehran. So, now, the 2 other uncles, the older one and the younger one, they did not become Babi. They did not believe in the cause of their own nephew, primal point. The older one, now this story goes a lot actually. It has much detail in it, and I am trying to leave portions of it. Of course, if I wanted to follow exactly my objective, that is make you more thirsty to understand more, I should have gone in detail. But still, our time doesn't allow me to go and say that detailed history. So, as much as I can, I just cut the corners. The older uncle, eventually, in the year 1862, went to Baghdad for the pilgrimage to holy Muslim places, shrines. Baha'u'lláh, knowing him, invited him to his house. And when he went there, he mentioned that it is beseemeth you that investigate the cause of your nephew. It's from your family, and you have to investigate his cause. Now, remember, the Bab is martyred, the other uncle is martyred, about a lot of the letters of the living have been martyred in his path. a lot of the Fort Tabarsi, Zanjan, everywhere. All these martyrs, and it was a huge news in Iran about this cause. So Baha'u'lláh told him that this is from your family, you need to investigate. He intimated to Baha'u'lláh that there are some issues that is actually preventing him of believing. Baha'u'lláh told him, you go home, write down every reason and every issue that we have with this cause and bring it forward. And with the help of God, we will dispel all those doubts from your heart. So he went home, wrote on a piece of paper the issues that he had difficulty in believing primal point, and brought it to Baha'u'lláh. Let me open a parenthesis here. That piece of paper was returned to the archives of on Mount Carmel. When Baha'u'lláh received that, in the next 48 hours, that was the time for the uncle of Bab to return to Iran and leave the city. He revealed the book of Certitude. 48 hours. And as it was the order of revelations those days, because prior to that also Baha'u'lláh has revealed some other books. Usually two people sit down and write down whatever Baha'u'lláh says. You can imagine in one of those half dark, half light rooms in the house of Baghdad, Baha'u'lláh, in his own way of revealing these works, he is going back and forth, and he is just revealing this book. One time I tried to see how long it takes. If somebody goes and just say the whole thing, the whole book of Certitude, and it took me 6.5 hours to just read it continuously. So you can say how long, how fast he was producing this book, and it was Abdul Baha and another, and Yunus is probably Mirza Aghajan, that wrote the book. After 48 hours, the one that was in the handwriting of Abdul Baha, they gave it to the uncle of Bab, and the other one is the one that later, it was in our hands to the Baha'is. It was actually, they wrote it again and they changed some errors for the reason of they were writing it or misunderstanding or wrong quotes or those, and it became the book of Certitude as we know it. It was first called the book that was sent to uncle, maternal uncle. So it was called Risaleh Khaluyeh. Literally in Persian means that which was written and sent to the maternal uncle. And then later, from Baha'u'lláh himself, it became the book of Certitude. The meaning of certitude, according to the dictionary or Iqan, means to be in the state of utmost yaqeen, of utmost belief, of utmost conviction, and stay with it. Not 1 second, because utmost conviction, you cannot be in it 1 second and forget about it next second. So it's a continuous state of utmost belief that makes Iqan. So Baha'u'llah's objective was to make, through that book, through these writings, that uncle of Bab become a believer with utmost certainty in the cause of his nephew. Let's see the spiritual significance of the book of Iqan in the Baha'i faith. You know that there has been statements, even as it was in the prayer that was read here, in the religions of the past, in Torah, in Bible, in Old Testament, New Testament, Quran, Bijan, that the words of God are sealed. Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. And Jesus, when was talking about his coming, also referred to Daniel. Therefore, confirmed this fact that it was sealed. The words of God are sealed. In Quran, in the chapter of Al-Qiyamah, which means the chapter of resurrection, later actually explained by Primal Point that resurrection always means the next manifestation of God. So resurrection of Islam means the advent of Primal Point. In that chapter, it says, ثُمَّ عَلَيْنَا جَمْعَهُ وَبَيَانَهُ, which means, it's a little bit more than this. It says, we are going to put the Quran together, which means at the time the Quran was scattered around, and then at the time of Umar, actually they put it together. In Quran says, we will put it together, collect it, and then you act upon it. And then, he says, Summa alayna jam'ahu wa bayanahu. And then it is upon us to put it together and explain it clear to you. All right? Now, the Persian Bayan, in the Persian Bayan, the Primal Point says, I want you to remember this, this lineage of sealed words that is still sealed. And he says, in Quran says, we are going to give you the clear meaning of it. Therefore, so in Quran is not clear either. In Persian Bayan, Primal Point says that the rest of it, because of the imprisonment and all of that, Persian Bayan is not the what in the size that was intended before. He wanted to write it in 360 small chapters. At some point, because of all of the afflictions, it was disrupted. But the Primal Point says, he whom God shall make manifest will complete this and will actually clarify the meanings and the rest of the meanings of the words. Now, which brings us to the term seal. This seal, therefore, it was in Daniel's, it was in Jesus by referring to Daniel's, it was in Quran by its own chapter of resurrection, and it was in Bayan by the statement of Primal Point that still the seal is there. It was not finished. We believe that the book of Certitude is the removal of that seal that for 6,000 years God has put on the words that he sent to us in terms of the glad tidings, in terms of the meaning of his redemptive plan for mankind and everything. It is the book of Certitude. We believe this book is that. Is a book that removes the seal from all of the religious words and revelations of the past. From the time of its revelation, the book of Certitude was subject to a lot of commentaries, a lot of criticism, a lot of appellations. I brought for you something to just take a look at it and see the book that was revealed in 48 hours. What we are really talking about. This is a book that a scholar of the faith, Ashraf Khabari, wrote about the references, not explaining the Book of Certitude, references of the Book of Certitude, alphabetical references. So this verse of Quran, that verse of Quran, that name, that word that he used, how it goes back to the holy scriptures of the past, that type of thing. Not explaining again. One of the divines of Islam, as soon as it was revealed, one of the divines of Islam wrote a criticism about the book and started to talk about Baha'u'llah doesn't know what he's talking about. This hadith, this tradition is wrong, that reference is wrong, and all of those things. Mirza Abul Faza'il al-Baygani, which is the foremost, according to Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha, scholar in the Baha'i history, wrote this book, Al-Fara'id, to answer only those criticisms. He is not again explaining the Book of Certitude. It's just answering his criticism of the book and of Baha'u'llah. So I want you to know that when we say, of course I can write a book in 48 hours, but the point is what kind of book we are talking about. Anybody can write, especially with the word processors these days, it's easy. This is the book. In 200 pages, Baha'u'llah has revealed everything that we need in order to help us and guide us to understand the meaning of the words of God in Adamic cycle. 6,000 years of revealed scriptures and their sealed words has been clarified in this book. And now the Guardian says it has a language so beautiful and lucid, a Persian prose which has, but again, let's do not make you feel like, oh, it's a book, it's a beautiful book. It's a serious book. Now, if a serious work is also beautiful, that's okay, nicer. But the main point is the importance of this book in the history of religion. I do not want to actually enumerate the subjects and the issues that has been clarified in the Book of Certitude. We do not have time, and again, it might create that false expectation in your heart. But some of the things that Baha'u'llah talks about is the spiritual meanings of life and death, tests of God for mankind, meaning of the term seal of the prophets, meaning of attaining the presence of God, meanings of heaven, hell, clouds, etc. Instead of mentioning these topics, I would like to talk about some aspects of the Book of Certitude, which is personal, between you and the book. It's more relates to us, and we have to deal with it. Although the Book of Certitude was addressed to the uncle of Primal Point, Baha'u'llah says at the beginning of it that they that tread the path of faith, they that thirst for the wine of certitude, which means all of the seekers at all of the times will find this book a guidance from God to them. Let's make no mistake that the book, such as the book was addressed to a Muslim person 160 years ago. well, less, 158 years ago. Let's do not say that the time has changed. Let's do not say that it's about recognition of the manifestation of God, and we already are recognizing Baha'u'llah as the manifestation of God. So therefore, it's almost a mute effort. Let's do not say that this book is for the people that are not Baha'is. The creative word of God has endless meaning. And those meanings evolve and regenerate themselves according to the maturity of man. So at every stage of our life, in the next 850 years minimum, if we read the book of Certitude, we will come with guidance, proportionate to our own level of maturity and different from whatever else, whoever else is talking about it. It's a personal relationship between individual and the Word of God. Creative Word of God, that's the meaning of never-ending meaning, which means it adjusts itself to your condition. In the first paragraph of the book, Baha'u'lláh says, after saying, they that thread the path of faith, they that thirst for the wine of certitude, he says, must cleanse themselves of all that is earthly, their ears from idle talk, their minds from vain imaginings, their hearts from worldly affections, their eyes from which perishes. They should put their trust in God, and holding fast unto him, follow his way. Then will they be made worthy of the effulgent glories of the Son of divine knowledge and understanding. He is creating and introducing in one simple paragraph the meaning of methods of inquiry. He says how we need to go after finding the truth. First, we need to start from ourselves. Not to go and listen to somebody like me. It's not going to work. We need to start by cleansing our hearts, by closing our ears from everything else, by closing our eyes, and then we might become the recipient of the guidance of God for ourselves. Now that we are here, how we should study the book of Certitude. Beloved friends, go and read it. I mean, did you expect some kind of difficult spelling words in one difficult sentence that I tell you, and then you say, oh, that's a nice way of studying the book of Certitude? No, just read it. I have read this book for hundreds of times, honest. Still, any time I look at it, it's like the first time, it's something else. It never repeats itself. It's always something in it. Always. Now, if you say that Baha'u'lláh abolished priests and religion leaders in the Baha'i faith, if you really believe in what he did, then that means that you do not need any leader, anybody in the Baha'i faith to tell you what is the meaning of the book of Certitude, how you need to read it, what is the meaning of this sentence, I have difficulty with that concept. Nothing of that. It's a personal relationship between you and Baha'u'lláh. All you need to do, open the book and read it. Somebody was praying that, oh God, please, I am in some difficult financial situation. let the ticket win, lottery ticket. And he was saying prayers and fasting and prayers and fasting and prayers and fasting. One night, some holy figure came to his dream and said, "You have made us crazy in the high realm. Go and buy a ticket."
That's good.
Just buy a ticket. Now, we cannot sit here and say, "Oh, such a beautiful," if you say, "Oh, it's a great book," and you do not buy it, and you do not buy it not in terms of money, and you do not get it and read it, you are not truthful to yourself. It's not a Baha'i's station. You need to go and get it and read it. Open the book and read it. If I want to make an analogy of what Bahá'u'lláh has done in the book of Certitude, let me tell you what came to my mind when I was thinking about it. He is like a master clay sculptor that goes in a vast expanse of 6,000 years religion history, picks up those dried, broken, unrelated pieces of clay scattered around. He takes them in his powerful, omnipotent hands, mix them with his utterance, with the water of life, and forge them together, and form them in a shape of a beautiful statue, powerful, beautiful, purposeful. This is what he has done in the book of Certitude. He put all of the religions in the past in one system, in one coherent, consistent system, the system that does not have Muslims against Jews, Jews against Christians, Zoroaster against all of them, Baha'is different from others. He is telling us, look at it like it's your school. First grade teacher, second grade teacher, third grade teacher, everybody consistent. They are all in agreement with each other. The point of their inspiration is the same. Their words are the same. The detail, according to your maturity, is different, but you are the same. In mere 200 pages of the book of Certitude, he established the truth of manifestation of Jesus to Jews, the truth of Muhammad to Christians, the truth of Bob to Muslims, and finally alluding to his pending declaration. Remember, 1862, 1864, in Bab al-Rizwan, he issues a warning to the people of Bijan. He says, "And now we beseech the people of Bijan, all the learned, the sages, the divines, and witnesses amongst them, not to forget the wishes and admonitions revealed in their book. Let them at all times fix their gaze upon the essentials of his cause, the cause of primal point, dua, lest when he who is the quintessence of truth," referring to himself, "the inmost reality of all things," refers to himself, Bahá'u'lláh, "the source of all light is made manifest, they cling unto certain passages of the book and inflict upon him that which was inflicted in the dispensation of Quran." Because in the dispensation of Quran, after 1,000 years of waiting for Qa'im, or he who shall God make manifest in the name of Qa'im, and still they are saying it, they killed him. To extinguish with one, for verily, Powerful is he, this he is Bahá'u'lláh, referring to himself, the king of divine might, to extinguish with one letter of his wondrous words the breath of life in the whole of Bijan and the people thereof. He's warning them. He says, don't do what the religions in the past did. Why? Because there is no excuse. The meaning of your words and your book has been clarified. In only 200 pages of the book, he explained the symbolic and abstruse concepts and words of Old Testament, Bible, Quran, and Bible. His explanations enabled some scholars like Abul-Faza'il to actually defend Quran for Muslims. There was this, one of them, there was this learned Christian, his name was Hashim Shami, that wrote a book. The book's name in Arabic is Tazlil. Al-Tazlil means bringing down. And in 300 and something cases, he is writing a book and saying that Quran is wrong in this historic reference, in this point of grammar, in this word, in this combination, in this, you know, the Arabic is a very difficult language. And he says, those critics to Quran, the explanation of Bahá'u'lláh, on the other hand, enabled Mirza Abul Faza'il to go and give answer to some of those in a way that some of the learned in Egypt came to Mirza Abul Faza'il and said, we really want to, the Muslims want to beg you to write a book and take these criticism of Quran off our shoulder. Mirza Abul Faza'il told them, it's very nice if I can do that, but even if I do that, I have to come with some explanations that you do not agree with those explanations. I can explain this if you agree with my explanation. For example, let's say, hypothetical, in Quran it says, Vashamso, if the sun, and the sun in Arabic, let's say it's feminine word. And he says why he is using the masculine attribute for the sun. The sun is feminine. Now, Bahá'u'lláh says the first meaning of sun is the manifestation of God. And therefore, when he is using the masculine, it's to that meaning of it. Now, do the Muslims agree with that? No. That's what he told. On his way to answer the questions of Bob's uncle, he laid the foundation of Baha'i dispensation. The foundation of the whole dispensation of Bahá'u'lláh is in that book. The unity of God, the unity of manifestations of God, unity of foundation of all religions. And these principles, in other words, mean the concept that we know as progressive revelation. I know that the beloved guardian said every concept in the Baha'i dispensation finds its trace to unity of mankind. Some of these concepts of the love and unity has been forwarded in the previous revelations as well. You all heard the statement, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You remember the statement of Jesus, love one another even as I have loved you. These are unity, these are statements of unity. But let me tell you, loving your neighbor is the closest thing in the world to love yourself. Because your neighbor probably is from the same class, from the same economic background, from the same education background, from the same income, from the same everything. His closest thing to you is your neighbor. Loving him. How difficult it is to love somebody that looks and has everything exactly like yourself. Their house is big, the same. Their education is the same. All right. Then Jesus came and added a little bit of essence of faith in it and told the disciples, love yourself even that I have loved you. Quran came one step further and said the believers are like brothers. Yeah, it is one step further than that, because it doesn't talk about poor, it doesn't talk about rich believers. But how different it is to take all of the limitations from the concept of unity and say unity of mankind. That is what we can do and what we can come to if we actually go ahead and believe in whole heart in the progressive revelation. At the end, Bahá'u'lláh, not at the end of the book, but at the end of my humble offer, the speech, whatever it is. I want to let you know that Bahá'u'lláh did not leave us in some twilight limbo. We don't know where we are. After going through all of those difficulties of the religions together and explaining the way that we have to confront these old age difficulties and wounds in the heart of the people, he is referring to the twin manifestation of God for this age, and he offers this explanation. He says, the universe is pregnant with these manifold bounties, awaiting the hour when the effects of its unseen gifts will be made manifest in this world, when the languishing and sore athirst will attain the living Kawthar of their well-beloved, and the erring wanderer lost in the wilds of remoteness and nothingness will enter the tabernacle of life and attain reunion with his heart's desire. And this is the concept that he, Bahá'u'lláh, in other tablets also mentioned. In a tablet of Omnipotent, he says that at the time of the revelation of this cause, the reality of all created things reached their maximum potentiality. So don't calm down yourself, chiefs. Go and get it and pray Bahá'u'lláh. Allah.